pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is Pastor Cruthers here tonight? I don't see him, so I'll give our invocation. Dear God, we give you thanks for this day, and we ask that you be with us tonight as we deliberate over these issues that are important to our city. Let us use our best judgment and always use goodwill in listening to those who may differ from us on a particular issue. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay. If we get new chairs, we'll probably end the meetings 20 minutes sooner. Okay. Ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Templin.
Here.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Councilman Gavarrecki.
Present.
Councilman Rourke.
Here.
Pro Tem McLeod. Ms. Armstrong is asked to be excused from this meeting. Mayor Matakas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mike. Ask for a motion for approval of tonight's agenda, March 22nd.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman
Support.
Templin, supported by Mayor Pro Tem.
Nope.
Oh, excuse me.
That's okay. I'll speak.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki.
I need to okay, go ahead.
I'm going to ask that we remove the minutes. I think we just got the drafts now, and because they were done by the deputy clerk, the clerk would just like us to hold off, and he'll present them at the next meeting.
I don't think the minutes are on here.
The new agenda, the meeting minutes are
Yeah,
removed.
sorry.
Oh. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm the only one with an old agenda. So anyway, for those of us that had the minutes, they're not on our agenda tonight. Any other corrections or additions?
I want to separate the claims and accounts there, Mr. Mayor.
Without objection, claims and accounts will come off the consent agenda and be taken as a separate item. Any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. Tonight, our awards, presentations, and proclamations, and I'm pleased to see that the chief is here with many of our officers. So, Chief, if you'd come forward, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate you giving this opportunity to speak. From time to time, although all of our officers on a daily basis do an exceptional job in policing the city of Allen Park, on occasion there are certain acts and or contributions of the police officers that I feel are either extraordinary in their effort or makes the officers stand apart from their peers. So there's 3 items that I'd like to address tonight and issue departmental citations and awards. And the first is going to deal with 3 officers, Lieutenant Chris Egan, Sergeant Wayne Albright, and Detective James Thorburn. And they're going to be issued a chief citation for their efforts involving community policing and outreach in the city of Allen Park. To sum up their contributions, I'd like to state that I'm proud to present Lieutenant Christopher Egan, Sergeant Wayne Albright, and Detective James Thorburn with the chief citation for their work in assisting the Allen Park Police Department in its community policing efforts. A foundation of building a safe community is partnering with the residents in working cooperatively to address issues of crime and disorder. These 3 officers have contributed to this effort in the following manner. Lieutenant Christopher Egan volunteered to organize and lead the city's CERT team. Lieutenant Egan partnered with the Melvindale Police Department, who already had a CERT program and established an Allen Park chapter. The CERT team has provided services to the City of Allen Park for many of its public events, like the street fair and various parades. Their continued training provides a group of people ready to assist our first responders in the event of a natural disaster or other emergency. Sergeant Wayne Albright has established a successful program of crime prevention seminars designed to highlight crime trends and educate our citizens in order to reduce victimization. These seminars have been very well attended here at City Hall and at the Recreation Center. Sergeant Albright has also taken the seminars into our public and private schools and presented for both the students and their parents. Detective James Thorburn spearheaded the Allen Park Police Department's developing a social media presence. Detective Thorburn established the department's Facebook and Twitter pages and continues to monitor and update the content. The Facebook page in particular has been a huge success and allows for a place for information to be passed and questions to be answered for our residents. It is my honor and pleasure to present Lieutenant Christopher Egan, Sergeant Wayne Albright, and Detective James Thorburn with a chief citation for their continuing efforts in outreach to the community. These awards and citations shall be entered into the officers' personnel files and civil service records. Thank you very much. The next citations to be issued are called a unit citation. A unit citation is given when members of the police department work as a team to solve a difficult task or solve a crime and are recognized for their exceptional performance and duty. The following officers are involved in this unit citation: Detective James Thorburn, Detective Jeff Miller, and Officer Jason Dobberton. This stems from an incident that occurred on November 6th, 2015. It was an armed robbery of the Zeal Credit Union on Park Avenue in the city of Allen Park. The summation reads as follows. On November 6, 2015 at 10 a.m., Allen Park police units were dispatched to Zeal Credit Union on a call of a bank robbery that had just occurred. According to the teller, a white male entered the bank and approached her window and presented a note that said, "Give me the cash, I have a gun." The teller attempted to reach for the silent alarm and the robber stated, quote, "Don't do it." The teller then gave all of the money in her till, totaling around $5,700. The robber left the credit union before officers arrived. The responding officers secured the crime scene and unsuccessfully checked the surrounding streets for the robber. Detectives Jim Thorburn and Jeff Miller arrived and processed the crime scene and collected what evidence was available. This included security camera footage of the robbery. Upon returning to the police department, Detective Thorburn was able to pull a clear image of the robber from the footage. Detective Thorburn dispersed the images to surrounding police agencies, the press, and also posted them on the Allen Park Police Department Facebook page. Within 30 minutes, tips began coming in via Facebook, identifying the robber. Using those tips and with additional information, the detectives were able to assemble a complete profile of the suspected robber, including the make, model, license number, and color of the vehicle he may be driving. A BOL was issued for the suspect and his vehicle at 3:09 p.m. At 3:15 p.m., Officer Jason Dobberton was driving east on Outer Drive near Allen Road when he observed a vehicle matching the suspect's headed westbound on Outer Drive. Officer Dobberton turned around and caught up to the vehicle and confirmed that the license plate matched the bank robber's car. Officer Dobberton, assisted by Officer Kevin Locklear, performed a felony stop on the vehicle, and the suspect was taken into custody without incident. After his arrest, follow-up investigation and interviews resulted in a search warrant being issued for the motel room rented by the suspect. Inside the room, the detectives recovered 95% of the stolen money. Due to these detectives and this officer's dedicated teamwork, This bank robbery was solved in approximately 5 hours. The innovation and out-of-the-box thinking of Detective Thorburn to post the suspect's picture on the department's Facebook page is primarily the reason this case was solved so quickly. It is my honor and pleasure to present Detective James Thorburn, Detective Jeff Miller, and Officer Jason Dobberton with a unit citation. These awards and citations will be entered into the officer's personnel file and civil service records. Congratulations. Tonight's final presentation is going to go to Officers Jason Dobberton and Eli Fatilia. This is a life-saving award, and this award is given for an incident that took on February 17th, 2016 at 9:37 in the morning. This involved a traffic crash and a medical emergency. The summation of the incident is as follows. On February 17th at 9:37, Officer Jason Dobberton was dispatched to the area of Lawrence and Seacott on a report of a single-car accident. Downriver Central Dispatch reported that the car had struck a parked vehicle and was now stopped on the lawn of a home on Seacott, and that the driver was not moving and trapped inside the vehicle. Officer Dobberton approached the crashed vehicle and observed the driver unconscious and slumped over the steering wheel. The doors on the car were locked, and attempts to awake the driver by pounding on the window were unsuccessful. Officer Dobberton broke out the window on the car and unlocked the door. He checked for vital signs of the driver and found that he was not breathing and did not have a pulse. Officer Dobberton, with the help of a citizen, removed the driver from the car, and Officer Dobberton began CPR. Officer Fatilia also arrived during this time, and together both officers performed CPR. After approximately 4 minutes of performing CPR, the driver began to breathe on his own, but did not regain consciousness. The Allen Park Fire Department arrived at the location and took over medical treatment and transported the driver to the hospital. It is due to the quick response and first aid rendered by these two officers that the man survived this event. It is my honor and pleasure to present Officer Jason Dobberton and Officer Eli Fatilio with the Life-Saving Award. It should also be noted that as of today, the patient involved in this has returned to his home after a month-long of hospitalization. These awards and citations shall be entered into the officer's personnel files and civil service records. Congratulations to Officer Jason Dobberton and Officer Eli Fatilia. Again, Mayor and Council, I appreciate being given the time to issue these awards and citations, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Chief. And to all the officers here, thank you for your service to our citizens and our community. You're welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but I know. I'll give you a few moments to exit right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I see him.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I don't have anything to soap it up.
It's all going one way. No, it's not.
You don't have to look up.
Just write down who makes the motion. All right. Or you want me to do it?
Okay, we'll resume the meeting. Organizational business, item A is the city administrator's operational updates, reports, and document submissions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a tough one to follow there. I come from a family with 2 police officers that were retired out of Melvindale. And I got to tell you right now, it's an honor to work with those fine gentlemen. They are some of the finest, we all know that, the Allen Park's finest, and it's just an honor to be able to work with those gentlemen, and looking forward to for many more years to come. Earlier today, there was a pre-bid meeting for the concrete street sectioning work. The bids are due for that project on March 29th and will be tentatively awarded at the April 12th council meeting. This one here, we had a couple complaints last week. We've had numerous complaints regarding the Comcast and the lack of progress that has been made. So after last week's council meeting, I decided that we were way past time to take action with Comcast. I took some drastic measures regarding the move of the fiber optic line from the old city hall to the cell tower and eventually to this building. I ordered the city engineer, CE Rains Company, the building department, and Buccelli Group, the city inspectors for those projects, to not issue any more permits to Comcast for any project in the city. That email caught the attention of some higher-ranking people at the Comcast organization, and there were meetings last week to discuss the process. That would need to be made, and they were on site today. They'll be back on site tomorrow to do some interior work, and we anticipate the project to be complete in about 2 weeks. I apologize it's taken this long. If I'd known we were just issuing an order, I even ordered that we would probably do stop work orders on these people too. I don't know if I had the authority to do a stop work order. They didn't know that, and you know what? We took some measures and it worked. And I think they knew we were serious on this issue. We need this issue done. We need to get our cable back online, and so the residents can be able to view these meetings at home during the regular times. Friday, myself and Mayor Matakas met with State Representative Liberati to discuss the need and possibility of getting some additional road money from the state of Michigan. We did the best we can. We'll keep hammering on that one. The state has a couple other priorities at this point in time with Detroit schools and Flint. But if they have any extra money, we definitely made it aware that to State Rep Liberati that we are in desperate need. The project funding we're looking for would be for more road. That is in dire need of repair as well. Unfortunately, I think we got State Rep Liberati out of here early enough that he was able to make it home to watch the basketball game, and I'm not certain he liked the outcome. As part of, and there's 2 Michigan guys in there trying to keep them in the office as long as possible. So, as part of the Municipal Complex Committee, there'll be a tour of the Inkster Police Department next Tuesday afternoon. We'll have a shuttle bus for the council to go over to Inkster Police Department, and there will be a council workshop following that tour, starting here at this location at 6 o'clock. And we'll also need to schedule a council workshop, a work session for April 19th to discuss the 2016-17 budget. A draft budget will be provided to the mayor and council on April 12th. As you know, later in this agenda, we have an item to schedule the public hearing for the April 26th, and then that'll come back up to council for final approval on May 10th. And finally, Bob and I will be attending the MML Capital Conference tomorrow in Lansing, so we'll be out of the office, and then I'll be off on Thursday, and I want to wish everybody a very happy Easter, and we're closed on Good Friday here at City Hall as well. That's it.
That's it. We have a motion to accept and file updates, reports, and documents.
Supported,
Mayor
Mayor.
Pro Tem, supported by Councilman DiGiulio. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Second organizational business is mine. It's commission appointments. First is to the Pension Board, Marie Adamishin, who had served previously, and then with the emergency manager making changes and whatnot, she was off the board as they put the emergency manager and city manager and everybody else on the pension board. And so eventually they were off. And Marie has agreed to serve again. The second appointment is a new appointment, and that's the result of the recent expansion of the board where we gave the fire department a right to vote and the city got an additional appointee, and this is that additional appointee. Dr. Donna Schmidt would be appointed for 3 years ending 12/31/2018. She has a PhD in education, taught in school in Allen Park, and has been superintendent of schools in northern Allen Park, Melvindale, and Frenchtown Township. She's taught in Allen Park, graduated from Allen Park High, a longtime resident, very familiar with nonprofit pensions and budgets and finance. I think would make a great addition to that board. So I'd like a motion to.
Motion.
By Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman Rourke. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry. Yes,
So you're just, are you going to do it at board at a time, one board at a time?
yes.
So you're appointing the two and the one. Okay, thank you. Who was the motion and the support?
Councilman Cisco moved, supported by Councilman Rourke.
Thank you.
I didn't have an application for Dr. Schmidt. She was kind enough to come forward after I had talked to 3 other individuals, and for one reason or another were unable to serve the community, but she is an excellent person, so. And everybody has spoken very highly of the service Ms. Adamishan has given the pension board. So if there are no other questions, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The Planning Commission, as you know, the emergency manager, while she was in charge of the city, took about half of our boards and commission and dismissed everybody. And then she asked them to come back. Some people came back, some didn't. But then she kind of appointed everybody for the same term, which doesn't really fit our ordinance. So we're going over the Planning Commission. There were 4 appointees that are new, but all of the 5 appointees for reappointment, all their terms were up. So you'll see all 9 Planning Commission positions here, and I'll go through them in a moment. I've talked to the city administrator. Even though MML has a handbook for planning commissions, and those will be given to each of them, we're hopeful to do in late April or early May a 3-hour planning commission training session. It'll be held here in the evening. And so with that, a reappointment for the year ending 12/31/2016 would be Delmer Parada, Peter Hagan, and David Babbage. For the year 2017, 3 new persons, whom you have their applications: Fred Hattar, James Powell, and Larry Rousset. I have talked with each of those gentlemen, and 2 of them were able to attend last, I think it was Thursday before last, Planning Commission meeting to get a feel for what that's like. And they'll also be involved shortly with the master plan for the city. The Planning Commission is charged with working on that with department head, city administrator, and chief financial officer. So another reason to get this commission fully staffed. Then for the year 2018, reappointing Don Graham as chair, and then, well, he wouldn't be, I don't have the right to make him chair, but he is the chair, and Dennis Rand. And then finally, a new appointee for 2018, Tony Lally, our former mayor. As I said, a carpenter by trade, has some knowledge in this area. I think he would be a good addition. So I'd like a motion for these 9.
Motion.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman DiGiulio. Is there any questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Finally, the Housing Commission, there was a resignation by the chair, Brenda Dingus, effective April 1st, and I am asking to appoint Rupert Miller to replace her for the term 12/31/2020. The Housing Commission terms are 5 years, and his application was included in your file. I have also talked to Mr. Miller about his duties there, and he seems quite pleased to have the opportunity to work on the commission. So I would like a motion for that appointment.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Templin,
Support.
supported by Councilwoman Gavarecki. And any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. We'll go on to the consent agenda. The first item would be claims and accounts. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm looking at that daunting 6 public hearings at the end and trying to move it. We're at that section, public comment. Before I ask people to come forward and comment, speak, question, or whatever their positions are, I'd like to go through the rules of decorum. An individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium at the front of the council table or such other area as designated by the chairperson. Prior to an individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their address for the record, which would be their street. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. Each member of the public may speak for up to 4 minutes. All written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting so that copies may be made available to the members of the public body. No individual should be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another individual's personal life. There shall be no questions, comments, discussions, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. Chairperson shall immediately rule out of order any person who begins to bring up such issues. If the chairperson does not do so, any member of the council may, by calling for a point of order, request the chairperson to rule the offending party out of order. If the chairperson does not so rule the offending party out of order, a council member may call for an appeal of the decision of the chairperson. If the chairperson's decision is overturned, the offending person shall be deemed as being out of order. If a person making the comments is allowed to continue, the person who is being challenged or whom the comments are made against shall be entitled to make an immediate rebuttal statement. For purposes of these rules, as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the term personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Members of the public body may question the speakers, but members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or make any statements on the issues raised or discussed by the speaker. Issues may be referred to the appropriate body, department, or individual for investigation and review. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meetings or proceedings. Any individual who fails to comply with these rules after having first been warned by the chairperson to cease such actions shall be ordered by the chairperson to leave and or be ejected from the meeting. Thank you. And anyone that'd like to come forward at this time?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Ray McGusson, citizen of Allen Park, Quant. Through the chair, Mayor, to Mark Kibbe. Mark, at the last meeting, it was brought up to attention there's going to be a road that is going to go ahead and be repaved, and you're going to bring in a pretty good sized piece of equipment, and you're going to be knocking down trees. Do you have any idea how many trees on that block are going to be knocked down? And then what I'm going to ask is this: are they going to be replaced? Or are they going to have to be replaced by the cost of the citizens? And if we're going to start knocking down trees, how old are these trees? Are they 30 years old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old trees? And if they're that old, what's going to happen to the rest of the streets when we start coming through the city of Allen Park? Are we going to bring the same piece of equipment in and constantly knock down trees? Question.
I think on that street, we're looking at around 20 to 25 trees for the 4-block section. They are older trees. They're really close to the roadway and the sidewalk. They look like they've been creating some hazards over there for a number of years. We're also working with, Matt Doring is looking into acquiring new trees, so we'll be able to go back and replace those trees if the resident wants them.
At the cost of the city or the cost of the resident?
At the cost of the city.
Are you planning to do the same kind of cutting down of trees for the rest of all this improvement that we're going to be doing?
Yeah, they looked at it there. I think initially they thought there was going to be a lot more that would need to come down. That was not the case once they got in there and figured out the widths and all that. The ones that if you go by, they're marked with orange X's on Garfield is the one I went down. They were rather large trees, probably 4 to 5 foot in diameter. You know, just not healthy. They're not healthy trees in the first place because they're just not made for that kind of space.
Wow. That's a question. 20 trees is a lot. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Walt Jordanek, Bel Air Avenue. My question is about the mayor and city council taking a shuttle bus to Inkster to tour the police department. Can anyone tell me why we're going to tour that?
That is a relatively new police department built by the Redstone firm. Councilman DeGiulio and myself looked at it originally with the then emergency manager and city administrator. The then rest of the council was unable to attend, but it's one of the newer buildings. It's approximately the size of the police station that we had over there. And so it would give us a good idea of whether that facility is a good fit.
So we're in the process of thinking about a police station with a jail?
Yes.
Okay. And the public's going to be made aware of this?
I think we had an announcement on the municipal complex meeting the last time that stated that they felt that the best idea was to use our existing land over here, the middle 4 acres, for any facilities for police, jail, and city hall.
Okay. This is just the first I've heard about it. And I go by that facility like twice a week, and it looks great. And when is that meeting?
Next Tuesday, the 29th,
At,
4 o'clock, and then we'll be back here at 6 o'clock. The tour's leaving at 4 o'clock with the council.
6 o'clock is the meeting?
Correct.
That'll be upstairs.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Dennis Hayes, 9965 Manor Avenue. As I mentioned last time, so long as we continue to insist on reciting these mindless rules of decorum, I think I'll take the opportunity to comment on them each time I happen to be here. And I'd like to start by saying, first of all, that the rules of decorum that are listed on the website are slightly different than the one the mayor is reading. I have a copy of it here, and a couple of the paragraphs were omitted by the mayor. I don't think it makes any difference because I don't think they're enforceable no matter how much you put into it. The time limits are different on the ones posted on the website, so that's another factor. So I guess what I'm saying is the public really doesn't understand how these came to be, I don't suppose. And I mentioned this before, but it seems to me a couple administrations ago, a couple of the council members apparently filed for bankruptcy. And some of the citizens came up and made fun of them or criticized them or asked them about it. And in their typical knee-jerk, ridiculous reaction, the city employed these rules with the sole purpose of inhibiting free speech. That's a public matter. If somebody files bankruptcy, that's in a public court. It's a public matter. But you see, I believe that any kind of rules of decorum of this nature are solely designed to inhibit our collective freedom to speak. And I think we've proved that in the last year. We had 2 cases filed in federal court that resulted in the city paying judgments because of the attempt to limit somebody's freedom of speech. So, I mean, if you want to believe that these things are enforceable, and if you want to post them or put them on the website, I say go ahead, but please don't belabor this and chaunter on and drone on reading these things that make really very little sense. Okay? I implore you, Mr. Mayor, consider not reading them. And I know that your argument to me when we talked about it in the past was that we had a retreat that Mrs. Parker sent us and we decided that we would do this. No, we did not decide that. In fact, there are no minutes of that retreat. But what we did decide was that you had to run the meeting and control the meeting, and one way of doing it was following the rules of decorum. But I don't think we ever determined or said or codified the fact that we will read the rules of decorum. I think what we said is we will control the meetings. And you can rule somebody out of order whether you read some silly rule or not. I think we can all distinguish proper behavior, profanity in this room, shouting fire in a crowded theater, the typical constitutionally barred kinds of speech are simple to recognize. But other than that, most people are free to say pretty much whatever they like. And I think that's the way it should be in this great country of ours. A second question, if I may. Mr. Kibbe, you mentioned the Comcast, but is Comcast carry the fiber optic for WOW as well?
No,
Because I know WOW is affected as
Yeah,
well.
we're working on WOW as well. They're
Okay.
right behind the Comcast group.
All right, and then finally, I noticed lately we've had a few new hires in the city, and I wanted to ask through the chair, Mr. Kibbe, what is our hiring practice? Do we advertise? Do we post these positions? I noticed that my old friend Ellen Templin is back working here, a pensioner, receiving a pension from our city, which she was also, I don't know if she's still here, but when I came to pay some bills one day, she was up there today. I was kind of surprised to see her. I would imagine that in our city of 28,000, there are other people who are out of work looking for jobs that don't have a pension, who could, I'm not saying Ellen's not a great candidate or a good person and a great worker, but the point of the matter is other people may need a job in this city besides she. I also understand there's a new young assistant building inspector, Mr. Baker, whose name's very familiar to us. I think it's Dr. Baker's son or something like that, and I think he's a good friend of the mayor's. And I just wonder what his credentials were, and if he applied, was the job posted, did we interview anybody else, or was that part of the Friends and Family Plan? Thank you.
Robert Turner on Morris Avenue. There's been a lot of discussion about a new jail and a new police department. Okay, during this planning stage, have we determined a cost yet? And the second one, how do we arrive at this money? Is it going to come out of the general fund? Is it going to be a millage on the ballot or what? It's just like, this thing seems to be a want without money. It's like me wanting a big new car and I don't have the money to do it. So, is there any kind of plan for the financial end of this?
We know that we have in our capital fund right now segregated funds of $2.1 million.
Okay, I know about that.
And we know that we would be selling the front 2.5 to 3 acres of the 7 acres that come from the creek that runs through the property. And that will bring a substantial amount of revenue in. Then the issue will be, how do we get from there? The first thing is to look at some plans that the council wants to have and then cost those out and then see what we can do, and if there's a time frame to do both buildings at one time, one building at a time, or just how we might do it. So,
I believe that building in Inkster is a retrofit, isn't it?
what?
I believe the building in Inkster was a retrofit. It was something else before it converted to a jail.
The courthouse was a renovation. The jail was brand new.
Okay, all right.
It's grafted on
Okay.
the east side of the facility.
My concern, how we arrive at the money to pay for this new jail and new police department. Thank you.
Good evening, Nancy Simmons, and I live on Keppen in Allen Park. I just had a couple of questions. One was concerning the budget public hearing And I was wondering about the work session. Is that open to citizens?
Certainly, yes.
And so what time is it?
It would be at 6 o'clock, same as,
Okay. And I know that it says on this cover letter that the budget will be available to the mayor and council on the 12th. Is that going to be put online so that we can look at it beforehand, before the 19th?
Through the chair, we generally don't put drafts out online. One of the problems that always comes up is, but it says this amount, but it's up to
That'll
administration.
go to mayor
and-
and council first and foremost. They have,
Okay.
that's what they were elected to do. They have the right to see that first.
So
And then
we're-
once it's go from there and is presented for formal approval, then it'll be on the agenda or made public.
So the night of the work session, will there be copies available that we could follow along
For the mayor and council.
only?
It's a draft budget at that time.
Okay.
They're the ones that have the, because they're going to want to change things or keep things the same.
Right, I understand that, okay. The other question, few questions that I have, is about the advanced disposal service. And I skimmed through it. I didn't have a chance to read every single word because there was quite a bit of information. But they're offering those 96-gallon carts. I'm not sure, I'm hoping that maybe these are some things that you'll talk about tonight when you bring this up in the resolution, but I was curious about if the cost for those are included in the city cost, or if the homeowners are going to be, if this is going to be an additional cost. And also with the recycle carts, they said, it said on there that there's a size of either 18 gallons or 64 gallons, and that they're basically charging the same amount for either size. And I guess this 64-gallon has a lid. And as a citizen, I'm interested in the larger size because, I guess it's based on a question, would we still continue to receive money from recycling? Because I think the city we were getting the money from recycling? No?
No.
Well, I asked that question a few years ago, and the answer was yes, we are getting money.
There's been no revenue from any streamline on that.
On recycle? Well, anyway, I'm still interested in the recycling, and the thing, I don't know what size bin we have now, but that's totally useless to me. And so, there's only 2 people living at my house. So if it was a larger family, I think that all would benefit. And the last thing, and I hate to ask you this, but there was a lot of commotion going on right outside the door when you were talking about WOW and Comcast. I couldn't hear a single word of what you said.
Can I see you after the meeting?
Yes.
Everybody
Thank
here.
you.
Although we sent them an email, they caught their attention and they're now working on that, so.
Although we don't get paid anything directly for recycling, recycled materials do not go to a landfill, and we pay so much per cubic yard for everything that we dump into a landfill, so we get a lower pricing. Now, everybody's got to estimate what we're doing, but they know in Allen Park, we're very good. About 75% of our residents recycle.
Is it mandatory to recycle in the city?
Well, there's no penalty if you don't. Sitting on the Solid Waste Commission, the county did ask, and all the counties, all the 43 communities in the county signed up for recycling, but I doubt that 50% are recycling at all. So, county hasn't provided any incentives for those of us who recycle.
Charles Blevins, Champaign. First off, it was a great presentation with the police department. Good job to all of them. Again, I'm going to say again, I hope that in the future, the agenda for public comments could be 5 or 6 minutes more, or not more, but a couple minutes more, so that we can ask questions, since we only see you guys twice a month, and there's many questions that we ask. A neighbor on, if I'm saying the street right, Cleophas, in the past couple of years have asked me about, is there somehow a way, there's the old McDonald's on Southfield. Behind it, there's this brick wall. The next street over doesn't have any type of wall or any, like a brick wall and stuff. And the neighbors there have told me that when people go to that park aid urgent care thing, and at night especially, and the lights are beaming at the houses, that affects their front yard and stuff. Just an idea in the future, maybe something, we're going to have like a brick wall down that one block, because the next one over would be the motel, and they don't have anything with Southfield, but just an idea that some neighbors were telling me about that. I'm glad, thank you, Mark Kibbe, for the updates about the Comcast and WOW. And then lastly, I do agree with Mr. McGusson about with the trees, when they get cut down, we need to make sure we plant them new ones, so that we can, especially if this for 10 years, and then if it keeps doing for the whole city, I don't want us to keep cutting more and more and more trees without planting new ones and stuff, because trees can be here for 30, 40 years, and when I get old enough, I hope I can see the trees that we plant now be there and stuff. But today, a new business opened up on the hill. I think it's Blaze Pizza Place. Hope everyone goes out and checks that out, and hope to keep more businesses in Allen Park downtown and everything. But keep up the good work and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I'm here too. See the trees grow. I want to see the trees grow too, Charles. Thank you.
Hi, Mayor, Council, Dad. Marcy DiGiulio, Allen Road. I have a question with this recycling. If people or with these bins, I guess, not just the recycling, if people have a chair or something they want to throw out, will that be picked up?
Yes, that's considered a bulk item.
So there would be, and that would be no cost to the citizen. Okay. Do any of you know who Miguel de Toro is? Anyone here? I see no one's watching the Flint water crisis. He was the EPA employee that wrote a report in June of 2015 alerting everyone what was going to happen. He was ridiculed. He was bullied. He was ostracized. But he wrote that report anyway. So I'd just like to say, for anyone in the city, on commissions, on council, you need to do what's right, because in the end, it's going to come out what happened. Mayor, I have a question for you. How is the police investigation going?
I have no idea what police investigation we're talking about.
The theft of the audio equipment, audio-visual equipment. We have a police investigation on that was stolen from City Hall?
We're talking an item that was probably about $150. So we contacted the auctioneers. They did some checking on. They couldn't come up with who it was. The piece has been repurchased now.
It has been repurchased? So
we're
that's not the only, that's all we're waiting for is Comcast and WOW to get back
We're
on?
good to go on our side now.
Okay,
So,
all right,
And that was probably a 10-year-old piece of equipment as well, so.
okay,
It was
all
probably
right.
due- It was probably due. I think we talked about that last meeting. You know, all the audio-video equipment's probably due to be replaced as well.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
Antiques are worth a lot of money.
Pardon me?
Antiques are worth a lot of money, 10 years old.
If you,
You're worth a lot of money.
if you had looked at that piece, it didn't even, the wire didn't even have a wrapping around it for safety purposes. I mean,
So we're glad it was stolen.
what?
It
The
saved
person
us
that
throwing it out.
walked off with it, I couldn't for the life of me figure out what they were gonna do with it, because once they pulled it out of the wall, it sat in the mayor's office on the floor. If you were ever in that office, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out where they put all the junk, and they didn't even put it and close it in a cabinet. It was a horrible mishmash of old wires, and I think for 40 years, every time they well, not the last 10 years, I don't think we ever vacuumed the mayor's office. I did that, and I was pretty careful not to vacuum those wires, but I think somebody vacuumed them over the years, so. Anyone else have any comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll go back to our agenda and the consent agenda, but item 1, claims and account, was withdrawn from the consent, and I'll take a motion to approve claims and accounts, please.
Motion for purpose of discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I was ready to support myself.
Councilman Rourke is supported. Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just on the litigation here in administration, page 3. Now, I know there's $6,000 that we pay for the city attorney per month, and there's $2,000 we pay for prosecutions, but there's also $7,000, $2,800, $3,900, and $450. What are those things for? It says prosecuting attorney, litigation, and city attorney. I mean, there's so many attorney, and this is all to the Pentock Covier law firm.
Through Chair, if I may, one of those was a duplicate bill that they've already voided out.
Is that
was
the one that says 00?
That was the $6,000, yeah. It was for May of 2015. So they voided that out, and we'll get with our accounts payable person and the accounts payable person at Pentock, Covier, and Kobach to figure out which was proper on that, and if it needs to be rebuilt with new information.
But the 7,000, the 2 and the 3, what are they about? I mean, we have, I mean, I like the 001. I think that's really fair. Or the rest of them, I mean, for prosecutions, or what was that about? I mean, or lawsuits, or what is it?
Looks like the 7,000 is for the cost of services for one of the months, and I can see a portion of February on the last one there, but I'm not too sure what the code numbers are.
Okay. And then the last one here for Seacrest and Wardle and Lynch, we paid $1,938, and it says labor attorney, Allen Park Employment Retirement. Is that the
Yeah, that's the,
retirees that sued us?
yeah, if I may, through Chair, that is the lawsuit that is still working its way through numerous courts regarding the retiree health care that was brought upon when the emergency manager changed the retirees' health care a couple years ago.
And so that's still going on. We're not over? It's not over for us?
No, that case was sent up to the Court of Claims, and I think that's on appeal at the Court of Claims now, or up in the Court of Appeals from the Court of Claims. And then there's still another part of that they filed in the Circuit Court, but the judge on that case sent it back on hold and sent it back to the Court of Claims, because that's where the anything involving the emergency manager law has to be heard in the Court of Claims first.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions by any other members of council? I hear none, so I'm going to call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. There are 2 items that will be on the consent agenda: our payroll report, and then the street corner solicitor's permit by Second Chance Network. I'd like a motion for those 2 items.
Motion.
Councilman
Supported,
Templin.
Mayor.
supported by Councilman DiGiulio. Is there any discussion or questions?
Do we know if there's anybody here from that Second Chance group?
I do not see their president.
Would only say this, I've never seen so much documentation.
Well, I just want to make sure that they're helping people in Allen Park or downriver, whatever the case may be.
They stated they asked for a recommendation for people here. They've only been in business, I think this is their third year.
I'd like to look into changing the name of that permit.
I know.
It's the Street Corner Solicitor Permit. Can we maybe think about a different name for that?
Through the chair, I will keep that in mind. Maybe I'll call it the Solicitor Permit / Street Corners. I'm kidding, I'm sorry. It's that business done.
Any other discussion here? I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And that's carried. Get the resolutions. The motion to set the public hearing on the 2016-17 budget for April 26, 2016.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilwoman Gavrecki. Any discussion? And you said the work session is scheduled when?
You need to do that April 19th.
At 6 o'clock, right?
Correct, 6 o'clock on April 19th.
Yeah,
Thank you.
6 PM for both.
Thanks.
There are no other questions or discussion. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have a recommendation on the solid waste award from the city administrator that we grant the contract to Advanced Disposal at a final contract price not to exceed $9,189,012 for a term of up to 6 years with Advanced Disposal. Could I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make the motion to accept the recommendation from the city administrator.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Templin. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavrecki.
Is it, could it be a time right now where we could ask the questions to the contractor? Or is it a discussion amongst us?
I think,
Or, I guess I just, from the work session, I think there was just one thing that was weighing on my mind, so I just wanted to ask that question, I guess. Maybe Mark
Well,
can answer
without-
it. Maybe Mark can answer it. I'm fine.
yeah, let's see it, and we'll leave it up to the city administrator.
That's
then.
fine. So, I think it was stated at the work session that the contractor would have to order vehicles to take on Allen Park. So I just wanted to make sure that those vehicles would be ready, or if they do have the vehicles ready for May 1st, because our other contractor did tell us that his trucks are going somewhere else. So I just want to make sure that there would be trucks available, no interruption of service to the residents, and we can move forward, because I know you can't just order disposal trucks.
Yeah, from our discussion with the contractor is they would have trucks available. There would be no interruption of service. They have those trucks they're being acquired as we speak, I guess, or once they're approved, to be able to move forth at that point in time.
Okay, and they are only offering the 96-gallon garbage can, tote.
Yeah, we do also confirm that as well, and they will offer the 64s for those that are in need.
Okay, so they'll offer the other ones as well.
Yeah. The
Okay.
preference, obviously the preference, and I think the preference from both contractors, and both we're very fortunate. We've got two very good contractors here. The preference, I think, for both contractors would be the 96. I think most people, once they realize how big a 64 really is, that the 96 is what they would like to have when they clean out their garage, clean out their shed. It's going to make a big difference to them.
Okay, that's understandable. There was something else I wanted to say, but go ahead.
I'll ask while you're.
Thank you.
And the other,
Councilman Rourke?
at the work session, we talked about an out clause. Has that been added into the contract as well?
Once we work, sit down with the attorney,
And now-
wasn't me. Once we'll sit down with the attorney, he's, Joe's well aware that that clause needs to be put in there. As we discussed, kind of a divorce clause of some sort. And then what happens with the containers at that point in time, we'll figure out a formula to figure that cost out.
Mark just answered it. So.
Some sort of cost plus depreciate them over the course of that time.
Okay. I thought of, I remembered what it was.
Councilwoman
You wouldn't mind.
Gavricki.
Thank you. This will be, the totes will be required by every resident. We're not going to do, if you want one, try it kind of thing. I'd rather it be all or none, so.
The proposal from administration is to go to the 96-gallon toter carts. And the reason for that is to help eradicate the rodent issue that we've had spring up in the city. And what we've noticed is a bigger issue coming in as we're coming into spring now is that the all the neighboring communities have carts now. And I think that's
Bringing the extra rodents to Allen Park. Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman DiGiulio?
Once they go to the carts, if that happens, you cannot just put trash out, right? You cannot put it out in your own little 32-gallon container, is that
No,
correct?
Yeah, the only way the trash would get picked up is if it's in a 96-gallon container, or if you have a special need that you, at the 64-gallon.
So without the carts, we have Rizzo and Advance that both bid on that. If we didn't use the carts and we just used our own trash barrels as residents of the city, which one would be the least expensive to the citizens? In other words, would they get some money back if we didn't spend as much?
Yeah,
I know we can only use the money for trash pickup, but if we didn't use that amount, what would happen to the extra money?
I'm a couple spreadsheets behind, but I believe that the savings, the low bid on the just trash pickup as it stands today would be Rizzo, in Rizzo Services. Any difference in the cost there that would be a savings to the citizens, to the city, would have to be a portion of it held back and just for emergencies, if there's any I think we've discussed if there's a flood or something like that, we'd have that money available.
Right, so it would
Yeah,
be
and then-
strictly used for,
It has to be strictly used for refuse, and anything associated with refuse. Anything returned, we'll probably be looking, I think Bob granted out to be about maybe $250,000, and you're probably looking at $8-10 a year back to the resident.
so $250,000 would be the difference between Rizzo and, so 250,000?
No, I don't know, when I said $250,000,
Rizzo
that's,
and Advance?
let me correct myself here and make sure we're on the same page. I don't know what the actual number is, difference between the two bids on that, because we've gone back and forth. The $250,000 I'm mentioning is the $250,000 on a millage rate, and that would generate a return of maybe $8 to $10 back to each resident.
I just don't want to go to the big barrels. I mean, for myself and for my neighbors, and certainly the senior citizens that come into my place of business, and I see at least 8 or 10 of them every day, 30 days a month, and they don't seem to want the big barrels. They'd rather have their own trash barrel and put a cover on it, a smaller barrel. So,
Mayor Pro Tem McClung.
Just a comment with the no trash cans, an earlier analysis I did, that came out to like 49 cents a household per week is the difference that you'd save. You know, I think that you've talked to your constituents, I've talked to some of mine. We're always going to get mixed feedback on it. I've had people approach me and say, you know, when are we going to get carts like Lincoln Park? We keep talking about the rat problem that we have here. It's not going to go away. I have talked to a number of residents in Lincoln Park who currently have them, who are incapacitated or dealing with a handicap of one sort or another. And I have had no complaints coming from those individuals. They are very easy rolling. I think the fact that they will accommodate those who really do have a need with a smaller 64-gallon. I guess some of the savings with no carts could be taken away, if you look at it that way, with having increased rat control. So I just, again, you know, I'm sure that you have heard from a number of people. A lot of them may be just apprehensive, and perhaps once they get them and deal with them, they won't have those same apprehensions either. And that may very well be the case.
Any other comments from council? Before I call the question, I'd make one remark. Officer Schreier took me around the area that he's responsible for patrolling, and if you know Officer Schreier, he's very impassioned about garbage control. And if he pointed out once, it was 100 times to me, he says, Mayor, you know, our ordinance says nothing can be out at the curb except in a hard container. And I think if you go around the city, about 50% of the citizens are not using any containers. And I think this will force that, because the trucks can only pick up the containers that they will provide us. And hopefully that will really help this issue about not just rodents, but raccoons and other animals in the city that run openly and tear into garbage bags and matters like that. So I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
I would say no.
Did I hear 2 noes?
Yes.
Then I'll ask for a roll call, please.
This is, we had a motion from Cisco, supported by Templin, to go with the recommendation of the administrator on advanced waste. We'll start the roll call alphabetically as it calls for. Councilman DiGiulio.
No.
Councilman Gavarecki.
No.
Mayor Matagas.
Yes?
Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
Councilman Templin.
Yes.
The yeses have it 5-2.
The next contract come before the council is the grass cutting services for this season, and I'll ask for a motion to award it to U.S. Lawns.
Motion.
Motion by
Supported, Mayor.
Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman DiGiulio. I'll ask the city administrator to just give us a summary of the memo that we were sent.
Yeah, good evening again, Mayor and Council. This is a request to award the grass cutting services, and it will be to U.S. Lawn. This is a contractor I know we've had in the past, and coming back again this time around. I'm familiar with them from other communities as well. The request, as it stated here, was broken into 6 sections: community park facilities, neighborhood parks, tot lots, historical museum, rental ordinance abatement, and DDA. Looked at through the bid process that U.S. Lawns was actually 27% reduction from last year's price, and great opportunity to save some money here. Pat's requesting that the award be to U.S. Lawns, and in the amounts of sections 1, 2, and 3 for the parks, $1,441 per cut. That's $37,466 per season, and that is a budgeted item. Section 4 would be for the historical museum amounts at $20 per cut, and as we have proposed in the 2016-17 budget, that is a line item in there for them to be able to maintain their property now. Section 5 would be for the rental ordinance abatement at $30 per cut, and Section 6 for the DDA contract amounts to $85 per cut. And U.S. Lawns has offered a 2% discount if they are awarded a multi-year contract of 3 to 5 years. I'm not too sure if that's a recommendation from Pat at this point in time, or if the council would want to consider that. It is out there for that as a possibility.
Okay, the motion is to, I think, accept the bid for this year.
Yeah, based on that, because we're just coming back to U.S. Lawns after a break away from them, probably would recommend just sticking with a one-year contract. Maybe that's an option to renew that at the end of the year or halfway through if we're satisfied with their services.
Heard the recommendation of the city administrator. Have any questions?
I'll make a motion for the 1 year for discussion purposes.
Well,
I mean, right now it's what it is.
I think that's what it is, yeah, is 1 year. I don't think we have to
We,
change that.
yeah, we already have a motion and a support. Cisco and Drew.
Oh, we do, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the question I have is with the $30 for these houses, do we have to abandon whatever the case is? Do we get reimbursed that money via bank, landlord, whatever the case may be?
In some of those cases, that'll go as a lien on that property, or bill will go back to the property owner.
Okay.
And then to seek there, if it does go to the point where it's gonna be a demolition or something, if it gets that far along, then possibility you might lose that money because of the lien. But we can figure out ways to try to recoup that as well.
Any other questions by council?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavrek.
So, could we do a contract for multiple years with an out clause if we're not? I mean, then we would have to give the 2% back. I mean, it's 2% on the 37,000 that we'd be saving? I mean, is it possible to write a contract for multiple years with an out clause of 30 days? I was just wondering.
I'm gonna yield to Pat just real quick, because
Okay.
he'd actually dealt with,
I'm sorry, I didn't ask this before.
no, that's okay.
tonight.
He'd actually been dealing with the lady from U.S. Lawns. For those that may recall, U.S. Lawns used to be called Ron's Field Cutting, if go back in your memory bank a little bit, but
I
they
don't
were here
remember.
years
We
ago.
had them here when?
I believe prior to 2012.
Okay.
2012, it was awarded to another company. Hasn't been bid since. It just keeps getting renewed without bidding it. Because of all that goes into it, and the previous bid from 2012 wasn't accurate. There were too many. There was a park not even included. There was another park that was only partially included. Other parts that had to be added. So every time we added it, whatever the bid was, didn't matter. Trying to add something to the bid after brought the price way up for those extra sections. So that's why it was cleaned up and bid this way. If you intend on not bidding it and just renewing it, if you're happy, I'd consider looking at a 3 to 5 year contract because there's an out in the contract as far as unsatisfactory performance. And if we're not satisfied, I don't have it right in front of me, but there's an out for that. So if you wanted to save 2%, I mean, I threw that in there at your discretion, but, or we can bid it again next year.
When you say unsatisfactory performance, it's their contract that we're using?
No, it's part of our bid package. It's part of what we'll do with them. I mean, there's an out in almost everything that the city has if there's unsatisfactory performance.
Do we have a definition of what that is?
If we have to tell them more than once or twice, that might not be fair. If we have to tell them 7 or 8 times, you're not trimming around and you have to come back and do it again because you're not trimming around the trees or the fence lines, or you're not cutting close enough to the property lines, or things. If we have those issues on a regular basis, I'd say that that's a performance issue.
So are we, what is?
I would say just given
You know,
given the fact that we had this
based
year,
on the looks on the faces, why don't we just go
stick to
1
1
year, and you know what, we'll ask them next year, if you want to renew, would you give us a 2%? You know?
Okay.
I have a question.
Councilman Cisco.
So I always have this thing about cutting the grass is, do the companies that are cutting our grass, past, present, well, present now, do they report to the Recreation Department as to when they've cut grass? No, they report ahead of time when they're going to cut the grass, and if the weather is if it's a rain day, that'll delay it one day. If it comes to a holiday, as an example, we do stay in contact then because we'll get an extra cut here and there. If there's a parade on a holiday, we certainly want to do everything we can to make the area look presentable, and so sometimes that comes into play. So we talk more or less what's going to happen the upcoming week, and at that time we talk about what might not have worked the previous week.
I just, in the past now, I'm not talking about what's happening right now, but in the past, it seems to me that we've had an irregular type of grass cutting from some of the people that have performed our services.
Well, last year it was not U.S. Lawn, and I wasn't unhappy with the vendor from last year at all because we did have communication. They were responsive to almost everything that we asked, and we didn't have any real issues. It comes down to price, I think, and at 27% off of the park price from last year. That's quite a difference. I'm not sure I'm getting to.
It wasn't last year. It was previous years.
Well, last year was the first year I'm going to say I took it. I didn't have it the year before, but I don't know how somebody in another department can oversee the parks when they don't go to the parks and they don't get the calls on the parks. And so that's why I asked for it last year, and we just stayed on top of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question?
Councilman Sisko, or Templin?
When's the grass cutting going to start?
April, the first Monday in April.
Okay.
Let's not say that's the beginning of the 26-week cut season.
Right.
Okay.
No, I just know we've had where grass this.
Well,
before they start.
Because
of the.
In this, all of our parks are or most of our parks are not drained, and so the condition of the parks is going to determine some of that. But that's when the contract starts.
I just had one question. Have you talked to them about operating in the manner that you operated with the prior vendor? Because I think you told me that usually on Mondays, you had a discussion as to where we're cutting, because some ball fields may be used at certain times, they're not used at other times, and we always get rain, and so there's always things that are catch-up. But you thought they were very good that you had that discussion on Mondays about what the plan was for the week for cutting.
Yes, I have no concerns or issues with U.S. Lawn through our discussions so far that we can't sit down and say, we would prefer to have this cut on this day every week. It's just the weather that might get us pushed back, that's all.
Okay. Any other questions by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. Final resolution is the fire chief wants us to purchase a 2016 Braun ambulance at $159,480 with a trade-in on the 2001 model. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Templin, supported by Councilwoman Gavrecki. I just want to know, have you read everything on page 9 about multiplex lights or something?
Yes, sir. What would you like to know about them? I know way more about this truck than I care to, and as soon as we get this done, I'm gonna erase all that from my memory.
I think I forgot more about that truck after I read all this.
Questions?
Any questions by council?
If I may, through the chair, the purpose of having the approval tonight is so that the chief can move forth with the order. It takes, I think, 270 plus
280.
days. 280 days to do the, for delivery. This is a budgeted item in the 2016-17 budget, and so we're just asking for approval now just so we can move forth with that. Very similar to what we did with the Zamboni.
This will be a basic twin to the one we bought last year with the grant money, so we're very happy with that.
Do we have a trade-in price from them, or is this price here the net?
That's the net bottom line. The trade, they're giving us $7,500 for our trade-in, and I did some research, and that's actually probably above market value. He really wants our business, so they're probably gonna part it out.
I think you told me that they already have a couple on hand, so
got-
taking this one on is not his.
He has
his
two of
best
them that are 5 years newer that he can't get $7,500 for. He's been trying, so.
How many miles does that 2001 have?
Almost 130,000.
That consider a lot for these vehicles?
Yeah, 'cause they get run, they start up, they're wide open, they shut down, and they're wide open again, so they're not treated very nice. And the maintenance cost on, the one we're getting rid of is what they call a medium duty, it's that big one we have. Maintenance costs are just outrageous on it, it needs time for it to go. So.
Any questions by council? Don't see anybody raising a hand or a voice, and so I'll ask for the vote.
Good.
Whom?
No, we're good. You're good.
I'll ask for the vote, chief. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
We're now, I don't think I've ever seen this in the 5 years. We have 6 public hearings tonight, which we will take one at a time. The first one for prohibiting graffiti, and I'd like a motion by the council for the third and final reading by the city attorney.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman
Support, Mayor.
Rourke, supported by Councilman DeGiulio. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, if you would please read the third and final.
Proposed ordinance 03-2016, an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 26 offenses, Article 4 offenses against property, Division 1 generally, by the addition of Section 26-32 to prohibit graffiti.
Public hearing.
I'm now going to, do I have to ask for a motion from council to go to the public hearing?
We've been doing them differently than we have for decades. What I would mark this one is to approve the third reading and open a public hearing.
Well, the reason we do the reading is so they know what we're doing. That's why.
But what I'm going to do is for the third, and then what I'll do for the next motion and do the roll call is we'll make it the final reading, and then I shall read what's required, shall this ordinance pass. So the third, I was thinking we'll approve the third reading, open a hearing, vote, and then have the attorney read the final reading. And then that's where we'll take the roll call and approve.
So you want me to have the vote on the motion to have the third and final reading then?
Yep, and then open it up for public hearing.
Heard the clerk's recommendation. I'll ask for the vote for approval of the third and final reading. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Then opening it for a public hearing, and if anyone wants to come forward and comment that they like graffiti, be interesting to hear your comments. No one seems to be in favor of graffiti, so I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion of the council to approve the adoption of the ordinance. Motion, please.
Motion.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod, do I have a support?
Support, Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio. Is there any discussion by council of the ordinance? I hear none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
I got to do roll call on this
Oh, we
one.
got to do a roll call.
Okay, I'll do the fourth reading here. Final reading of ordinance 3-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 4 offenses against property, Division 1 generally, Section 26-92 graffiti prohibited. Shall this ordinance pass? And we'll start the roll call with Councilwoman Gavarecki, since Mr. DeGiulio did the first one. So, Ms. Gavarecki, shall this ordinance pass?
Yes.
Mayor Matagas,
Yes?
Pro Tem McLeod,
Yes.
Councilman Rourke,
Yes.
Councilman Cisco,
Yes.
Councilman Templin,
Yes.
and Councilman DiGiulio.
Sin. That's Italian, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
No capisce italiano. A
You
little
do a
bit.
nice job, Mike.
Name ends in a vowel, come on.
Okay.
This ordinance shall be ordained and will be published in a manner prescribed by law.
Thank you. Second resolution, a third and final reading for, to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 4 offenses against property, Division 4 destruction of property, Section 26-195 malicious destruction of property. Could I have a motion for the third and final reading and public hearing, please?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Gawarecki. Do I have a second? Supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. I'll ask for the third and final reading by our city attorney, please.
Proposed ordinance 04-2016, an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 26 offenses, Article 4 offenses against property, Division 4 destruction of property by the addition of Section 26-195 to add a section making the malicious destruction of public property a misdemeanor offense.
Heard the reading and a call for the public hearing. Are there any citizens that wish to come forward on this matter? I will
Motion.
close the,
We had by Gawarecki, yes, we need a vote, just a simple vote here.
Okay. Last time we did a second.
I'll ask for the vote to approve the third and final reading and the public hearing. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. We then need a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Rourke.
Support.
Support by Councilman Temple. And I'll try not to do all 6 of these differently. For discussion by any member of council or questions. I see none. I'll ask for the roll call vote, please.
Okay, the final reading of 04-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 4 offenses against property, Division 4 destruction of property, Section 26-195 malicious destruction of property. Having the third and final reading and a hearing, shall this ordinance pass? And we'll start with Mayor Matagas.
Yes.
Excuse me, Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman DiGiulio.
Yes, that's
And
English.
Councilwoman Gawarecki.
Yes.
Oh, grazie.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, prego.
Prego, yes.
That's like I'm back home.
Third resolution is the third and final reading for ordinance to amend Chapter 46 Traffic Vehicle, Article 3 Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Section 4665 limited time to park unregistered vehicles. Could I have a motion for the third and final reading of the ordinance and the public hearing?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Gawarecki,
Support to discuss it.
supported by Councilman DiGiulio. I'll ask the city attorney to please read the ordinance, please.
Proposed ordinance 05-2016, an ordinance of City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 46 Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3 Stopping, Standing, and Parking by the addition of Section 46-65 limited time to park unregistered vehicles to limit the time to park unregistered vehicles in the city to 48 hours.
All right. You've heard the reading, and is there any comments now for a public hearing by our citizens? I I see no one coming forward, no hands raised. I'm going to close the public hearing. I'll ask for a vote to adopt the resolution for the ordinance, please.
We had a motion by Gavareki, supported by DiGiulio, and we'll call the vote.
I guess I need the vote for that. That's the simple vote on that one. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Now I need a
No,
motion.
no, Mayor.
You're going to vote no on the
Well, it's-
resolution for the
It's
public meeting?
48 hours, that's what I'm against.
Okay. Six to one, showing Councilman DiGiulio voting no. I need a motion for adoption of the ordinance, please.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Gavareki, supported by Councilman Rourke. Discussion by council.
That's what I said, Mayor, is I'm against the 48 hours. That's not a lot of time for these businesses to get rid of those unlicensed vehicles. I mean, they'd have to have them towed, and where do they put them, and what do they do with them, and that was my main concern.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I had a question, just for clarification. This says unregistered vehicles. Is that's not the same as unlicensed, is it? I mean, you can have a vehicle that's registered but not licensed for whatever reason. Let's say somebody's on military duty overseas, and you're keeping their vehicle. You may not renew the license while they're overseas, but it would still be a registered vehicle. My reading or analysis of this was that they were talking about unregistered vehicles, which comes into something, I think, a little more illegal rather
Well,
than
just-
unlicensed.
Just through the chair, no, this would be, the idea of unregistered, you would need a current registration, which is a current license.
Okay, so you're
So if you had an expired plate in your backyard, yeah, unless you put it in your garage, you know, let's assume someone could see it, but it would be, and the idea behind this, and I actually looked into this came out of someone in the police department who, you know, they find all these abandoned cars, and, now, I mean, quite frankly, you could have an old beater and put plates on it, but the idea was, is this is one tool to avoid having, you know, to deal with blight.
So unplated is same as unregistered. If it doesn't have a plate that's valid.
Yes.
You cannot put it, that's what I thought it was, that's what I felt it was. A lot of these vehicles in the repair shops have plates that have expired. Thank you there, Mr. Covier.
Any other questions by council? I had asked the attorney, because I think ordinance and police officers are going to have to know how do we measure 48 hours.
Right, so it's going to take some work to do this. They're going to have to, they're going to have to take at least 2 stops.
You're gonna mark the tires like the police department does for cars that are parked on the street?
Possibly, but I mean, if it's unregistered on Tuesday and it's still unregistered on Friday and it's in the backyard, it's going to be pretty clear, or sitting in the driveway.
This is against.
So we have to mark the 48 hours to
This is
start
against-
that somehow, and then.
This is not just driveways, right? It's gas stations, right? Okay, thank you.
Another question somewhere down the road? I'll ask for the roll call vote.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Gavareki, supported by Councilman Rourke. And shall the third and final reading of ordinance 05-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 46, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 3, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Section 46-65, Limited Time to Park Unregistered Vehicles. Shall this ordinance pass? And we'll start with Madam Pro Tem.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman DeGiulio.
No.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Yes.
And Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
The yeses have it. This ordinance shall be ordained in the city of Allen Park and shall be published in a manner prescribed by law.
Resolution for fourth item before us tonight, which is an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 1 in general, Section 26-3, state law misdemeanors. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman McLeod. I'm going to ask for the vote first this time and then open it. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. We'll now have a public hearing on this resolution on,
Do you want to read it, or should I, so they know? Or we're,
yeah, I think you have to read it, don't you?
yeah. Well, you know, actually, I don't need to do the reading the way Mike has moved this around. I think I'm just doing the reading for convenience, so people know what we're voting on. And I'm sorry, I'm talking low. Yeah, we're just doing the reading so everyone knows what the public hearing's about. So this is an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 26 offenses, Article 1 in general by the addition of Section 26-3 to add a section making all state law misdemeanors prohibited in the city and punishable by local ordinance.
Is there any comments that the citizens wish to make? I see none. I will close this for the public hearing and ask for a motion for adoption by the council.
And we need the reading. Maybe the clerk could do the reading and the adoption. Right. So that would.
Making a motion now?
Yeah, motion for adoption and
Support.
reading. Rourke, and the support was Councilman Templin? All right.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilman Templin in regards to ordinance number 6-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 1 in general, Section 26-3, state law misdemeanors. Shall this ordinance pass? And we will start with Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
Oh, wait, can we have just some discussion here?
Oh, do you want to discuss before I continue roll call? Anyone? I'm sorry,
Well,
I took your
I
job.
have one
I'm sorry.
question, because I
Yes, we can discuss if anyone wants to.
have a question. It says, conviction thereof be punished as prescribed in section 1.14 of this code, and the code is referencing the state law misdemeanors, but 1.14 is actually Allen Park's ordinance,
That's correct.
and that ordinance means that this will be a civil infraction. Does it?
No, I believe that's the misdemeanor.
It's going to stay as it,
I don't have the, check that out, Mike. Look at 1-14.
Which was it, 1 dash?
Yeah, just look at 1-14. It should be the general penalties.
Yeah. I think it's proper, but I don't have a law degree, John.
Yes, yeah, Mayor, so it is 1-14. That is, whenever a code declared unlawful, the ordinance shall be punishable by a fine not to exceed 500 or cost or 90 days. So it's in there.
okay, so.
But
so
thank
it
you
is-
for raising that, yep.
It is a misdemeanor.
Yes, sir.
It's not changing that. Are there any other questions by council? Councilman DiGiulio.
Is this now strictly against females? Because it says misdemeanors, not Mr. Demeanors. Go ahead, let's take the vote.
Oh, we're all on a roll tonight.
Since it,
Could you repeat that in Italian, please? No, I'm just.
because the state law
Okay.
has it treated as misdemeanors, and we're saying it's misdemeanors, I guess, what's the purpose of the statement of this? I mean, what, I don't know what
okay.
legal affairs
No,
was thinking about.
No, here's what it is, Mayor. There are certain criminal activities that have been, there's certain activities which the state has deemed criminal activities. Now, on occasion, someone commits an offense in the city, and we do not have a local ordinance to charge that individual with that. So in that instance, we would like the the availability of state law to find a criminal offense there and use that locally.
And then use our punishment.
And that's, yes, yep.
Thank you.
Okay, just to be clear, we have and I'll be real quick. We have a motion by Rourke, supported by Templin, on ordinance number 6-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 1, in general, Section 26-3, state law misdemeanors. Shall this ordinance pass? Councilman Rourke?
Yes.
Councilman Cisco?
Yes.
Councilman Templin?
Yes.
Councilman DiGiulio?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavaracki?
Yes.
Mayor Matagas?
Yes.
And Pro Tem McLeod?
Yes.
The yeses have it. It will be published in a manner prescribed by law, and it shall be ordained in the Book of Ordinance.
First item I need, a resolution for the third and final reading and public hearing, an ordinance to amend Article 3 offenses against persons, Section 2659, malicious use of service provided by telecommunication service providers. Could I have that?
Motion for discussion, Mayor.
Councilman DiGiulio is moved. Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Councilman Templin. I'll ask for the reading by our,
An ordinance, proposed ordinance 07-2016, an ordinance of the City of Allen Park, Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 26, offenses, Article 3, offenses against the person by the repeal and readoption of Sections 26-59 to update the telecommunications offense ordinance.
all right, at this point, we have a public hearing on this, and it is a very broad-reaching.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Ray McGusson. It's a very broad, like you're going to say, Mayor. This is about people that are on Facebook, who are on Twitter, or any other use of the internet. You are going to go ahead and get yourself into trouble, because I firmly believe if this passes, that a person that calls somebody a name, and that person takes this as an offense to his name, is going to go ahead and contact the city, and the city's going to have to look into it to say, hey, is this taking away the freedom of speech off the internet? It's very broad. I think it needs to be really looked at. If you take really a look at it, and Mr. Covier and I had a little discussion about this, it is very broad. I'm against people bullying young kids. But sitting there causing, it's like, I hate to say it, look what's happened to political mumbo-jumbo now of all these people calling all these people names. And they're using Twitter and Facebook. And during the election, a lot of you were called names during the election on Facebook and Twitter. I think you're really going to have to look into this, because I don't know who's going. Do we have enough of police officers to look at this? And is it only going to take one person to sit there and come up to who? The police department to say, I'm totally against that guy calling me a name on Facebook. I can understand when it's young kids going after young kids or adults going after children. I understand that. But I don't understand this one. I really don't. You're taking away the freedom of speech for me to sit there, and I don't sit there and call people names, but you can take it as any name that we can use. Am I right or wrong? I mean, is this going to be looked by the state before it gets put in? Or are we going to have to be taken to court, and then I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to get a lawyer, and just what happens here by some individuals coming up here talking and not using the internet. Oh yeah, it's on the internet because it's on Facebook and it's on YouTube. Okay? And they won. And they got some pretty good, substantial money from the city. Well, that's just open up for discussion or whatever.
Could I just through the chair? Mr. McGusson, I appreciate your points. They're good points. But as we look at this ordinance, it talks about maliciously using any service. So you got to have malice. It's not just someone expressing their opinion. And they need the intent to terrorize. I mean, the internet, you're not terrorizing people. It's political speech. You're not trying to terrorize someone.
Some people will take it as terrorism. They won't be called terrorism.
I mean, they could, but objectively, I mean, is the intent to terrorize, frighten, intimidate, threaten, harass, molest, or annoy another person? I mean, annoy is a little broad. Or to disturb the peace and quiet by any of the following. Okay, so this is what this law says. Now, what happens in any criminal situation is someone have to make a complaint. The police then screen it to see, is this real? And then at that point, it's then sent to the prosecutor to decide whether or not this is something that warrants prosecution. So it's not like a person could just make a complaint and all of a sudden it's a criminal complaint's issued. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of times things happen, people are hurt and they file a criminal complaint, but it just hasn't reached the threshold to bring it into court. So this is another tool to deal with these situations where people are, they call someone up on the phone, they make threats to them, repeatedly calling them and harassing them. Now, whether or not, at some point, free speech or your actions you go too far, and that's what this is designed to do.
You know what, Mr. Covier, I go along with that. So the next phone call I get from those people that threaten me that the police are going to be at my door if I don't pay a bill after they call me at 9 o'clock, and that's a threat. That ain't no garbage. That's intimidation. That's being almost and terrorizing me. And every one of our senior citizens out here, who do I come and how are you going to prosecute that individual?
If you can establish who did it, and you
What do you
can
mean? It's going to be. They're calling me up on my phone and everything else, and they're using the internet.
How do you still need to prove this, where it comes from? Anytime you prosecute a crime, you have to prove that someone's done it.
So anybody who intimidates anybody on Facebook or YouTube is up to go ahead and be up for prosecution.
That's not what I said.
Okay, from the city. I mean, can be. You said intimidation. You said intimidation. You said that.
With intent to intimidate.
Well, I mean, calling a person name is intimidating that individual. It's very broad. That's all I'm saying. I understand, but it's very, very broad.
And you know what? No writings, no laws are perfect, okay? And, we do the best we can to deal with when there's trouble, when certain activity raises to a level where society says, you know what, that's enough. And I mean, quite frankly, what you can do in one community is different in another community. It's, certain things are acceptable, certain things are not. That's why we have courts and judges as to what, and juries as to what level of behavior does society deem acceptable. So this
Boy,
law.
I tell you one thing, the
this
lawyer's going to love this. And, you know, that's all I really have to say, because I just,
Love every law.
I know they do, Mayor. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Any other comments by citizens? I see no one coming forward, so I'm going to close this public hearing and
Do you
ask,
want us to speak or not? Here at the table?
just one moment, as soon as we get
All right.
a resolution to adopt and read the ordinance.
I have a motion by DiGiulio and Templin.
I thought we voted on that one.
Not yet.
They didn't have us vote on it?
No, but that's.
That's just a simple majority, so I'll ask for, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Now, motion to adopt and read the ordinance.
Do we have discussion, though?
Yes.
Because I guess, based on what Mr. McGusson was saying as well, what
Could
we
I have
all.
a motion to put the
Oh,
matter
motion,
before
okay,
the
go on,
council?
motion for
Support.
discussion. Sorry.
Supported by Councilman Rourke,
Rules keep changing, huh?
or moved by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilwoman Gawarecki. Councilman Rourke is desirous of asking a question here, so let's
Okay.
get to it.
So this ordinance already exists, and we're readopting additional language into it?
Yeah, and it would have been helpful if we could redline that for you. And I'm sorry.
Because, I mean, are we updating because of telecommunication equipment and what's out there, or, because obviously, if this exists, we've been dealing with it for years. Mike's gonna.
Through the chair, it looks about identical, with the exception, I think, of adding, thank you, Mr. A, B.
We do have an ordinance like that. We're amending this.
Yes, it is, there was an ordinance 2006-16 that had every line verbatim except 8 and 9 at the bottom here, but every one of those are pretty much verbatim, 1 through 7. So we're adding basically internet, social media, or any telecommunication device by voice, which is basically, we've been a little behind the times. We should have had that in 06, so to say, but it would add internet, social media, and telecommunications device, which I, as a layperson, takes as a cell phone. And written or electronic communication in any manner to harass, harm, or cause alarm.
Any other comments or questions by council? Councilman DiGiulio.
I have to agree totally with Mr. Covier. Take it to court. You have a problem with somebody, you want justice, you go to court.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. DiGiulio.
Well,
Please don't misunderstand. Quite frankly, if you got a problem with someone, you should try to work it out with them without going to court. Court is our very last resort. In fact, quite frankly, if we end up in court, we haven't tried hard enough. So our goal really should be to avoid court and try to fix things on our own.
well, I agree with you there, but I mean.
So please don't say I said we should go to court.
Well, the end of it is, you said like court, judge, and the jury to let them decide. We're in a sue society in this time and age.
That certainly is not what I
I
meant.
don't do things
But
like that, but
let
other
me tell
people
you,
do.
what this is meant to do is let me tell you, some people have been terrorized by other people, and that's what this is about. This isn't about sharing your political opinions. This is some nasty stuff.
I agree.
You know, a man stalking a woman. I'm not, it happens, and we gotta have laws in place to stop these people from doing that. And that's all this, that's what this is designed to do.
You're right. Thank you.
Other comments by council? See any, I'd like to give 2 examples of where I think it's going to be helpful to people. As a practicing lawyer and as a person who ran for political office, when I ran for mayor the first time, there were 4 candidates running for mayor in the primary, Councilman Rourke being one of them. And somebody bought his name and my name and put it up on the internet and had us arguing with each other and saying some pretty strange things. When I went to GoDaddy, the person who did this had bought silence, security. And there was no way to get a release of that information. Finally, after this thing went on for a week or 2 weeks, I don't know how long did it go on, Kevin, about 2 weeks, I think. And
Don't go on that stuff.
and finally, I'd gone to the state. State has nothing in elections on internet content or what you can do. And I said, you know, it's really a mistake not to put anything out there because particularly municipal, township, school district, maybe even counties, particularly out counties not that aren't have a lot of money in play for an election. This is what we're going to see is social media and that. And if you can buy anonymity and say whatever you want or buy other candidates' names, you have a real problem. And so that's the one example. The other is that I've seen as a practicing lawyer is everyone thinks it's really easy to get a personal protection order for. All my cases have been women trying to get personal protection orders against ex-husbands or ex-boyfriends. And normally we've had her telephone line set on and recorded by AT&T as to these calls that are pretty specific, frightening, intimidating. They're designed to harass. And you can take it into the judge, but the judge will look and say, well, he's saying this from another state or whatever. He has no real ability to carry this thing out. And therefore, you will not be getting that personal protection order. And unfortunately, no matter where a person is, transportation being what it is, you can get pretty close to the person pretty quickly. I think it would be a good ordinance for us to use to protect those people who can't get the circuit bench to rise to the level of personal protection orders. Now, it doesn't mean, you know, the final day the divorce is decreed to private, you call each other and call each other names, that we ought to be out there with our police departments. But when this thing goes on, when reasonable people should move on with their lives, I think we have to worry about the protection of that person. So I think it makes some sense adding those sections. There are no other comments or questions. I'm going to call for this vote. All in favor signify by aye.
This is the,
It's a roll call, I'm sorry.
sorry. And we have changed how we do so. I have a motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilman Gavareki, in regards to ordinance number 7-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 3, offenses against a person, Section 26-59, malicious use of service provided by telecommunication service providers. Shall this ordinance pass? And we will start with Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavareki.
Yes.
Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
And Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
This ordinance shall be ordained in the city of Allen Park and published in a manner prescribed by law. Thank you.
The final public hearing and ordinance that will come before the council for determination. And we'd ask for a motion for a third and final reading and public hearing for ordinance to amend Chapter 26 offenses, Article 6, offenses against public morals, Division 1, generally Section 26-264, urination in public.
Motion.
Moved by Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Templin. And could the city attorney read this?
Proposed
ordinance?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Proposed ordinance 08-2016, an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances amending Chapter 26 offenses, Article 6 offenses against public morals, Division 1, generally by the adoption of Section 26-264 to make urination in public a municipal civil infraction offense.
You've heard the ordinance amendment. Would anyone like to come forward and speak about this? We're not in, even Paris now, they don't allow you to do this. I see no one coming forward, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And I'll ask for a vote on that matter. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. And that's carried. And I need a motion for adoption and final reading of the proposed amendment of the ordinance.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Gavarecki, supported by Councilman Templin. Would you want to?
Explain? Sure.
Well, I think we know what public urination means, so I guess that's it. But it is a civil infraction and not a misdemeanor. So.
Okay, the purpose of this amendment, public urination is currently a criminal offense. However, it's a misdemeanor, and if someone was convicted of this, they would be a sex offender. And that's pretty severe punishment. So a civil infraction will deter such activity. They'll pay a fine, and hopefully they would never do it again, but they're not going to be damaged for life by being on a sexual offenders list.
Any questions by council or comments? I hate to ask this question because there's no nice way to say this in polite society. This only deals with urination as a bodily fluid.
Good question.
And we know we had someone that we just charged recently who was defecating and spreading his fecal matter all over our public facilities. This deals specifically with urination.
That's correct.
What did we deal with the other ordinance? How did
That
we
was
do?
more like malicious destruction of property. And we could
Urine
look for a
evaporates.
state law now, which may apply to that.
Okay. I think malicious destruction of property is a stretch, but if you convicted him on it, I guess you did a good job. Any other questions by council? From the ridiculous to sublime.
You're ready, Mayor.
Let's,
Is Mr. Covier?
let's have a roll call, please.
Okay, I had a motion by Templin, supported by Gavarecki, on ordinance number 8-2016, an ordinance to amend Chapter 6 offenses, Article 5, offenses against public morals, Division 1 generally, Section 26-264, urination in public. Shall this ordinance pass? And we will start with Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki.
Yes.
Mayor Matakas.
Yes.
Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Councilman Rourke.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
The yeses have it. This ordinance shall be declared ordained in the city of Allen Park and published in a manner prescribed by law. Thank you.
Before we go to adjournment, I'll ask if any of the council wishes to make any final comments. Wait a moment. Clerk will give you
Who's going to speak?
no, he's going to wait until council's spoken.
Okay. Just,
Councilman Rourke.
I was just thinking about this. Can we just make sure, if Pat's still here too, that all the bathrooms or porta-johns at all the parks work? Because you'd hate to have a situation come up. And, I mean, you have a lot of baseball, softball, and everything else, and this really doesn't have an age limit on it. So I just want to make people aware from that standpoint. I want to thank the police officers that were here. I'm sure everyone else will talk about that as well. And I want to thank DPS and Mark here. I had a call over the weekend about on Reek Road by Allen where the little church is, the pothole that was there, and made the call on Monday, and I think it was fixed either Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. And got a nice message back from that citizen saying thank you so much, it was done. So don't be afraid to share with us if you see a pothole, and we'll try to bring it to their attention and get it filled as soon as we can, so. So, yeah. Don't use the texting stuff, so you can do that commercial.
But C-Click Fix is the app that's out there, Allen Park Connect, and that can be entered in electronically through your phone, take a picture, and we'll get it here. And we're still working out, we've still got some bugs on it. It's been in place for a little while, but we still got some bugs we're working out, but please use that.
Got it. Thank you.
Councilman Clinton? You're recognized if you had any final comments.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you to the police officers for a job well done.
Councilman Cisco.
Yeah, thank everybody for coming. The officers did a great job. If you have a problem with potholes on your street, call DPS. They'll mark it down. They will come out within a day or two. Happened on my street yesterday, today. So use your phone skills, and things are getting done in the city as we move forward. Thank you. Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Councilman DeGiulio.
Okay, if the restrooms are out of order, do not look for a tree and kill it in the city. And let's go on with, I want to congrats to the officers tonight, but also to the police and fire, both, all the officers on our department that are appreciated by all our citizens. And I appreciate that the board and commission appointments had their applications with them tonight. That was great to read. And I do plan to ride the bus, Mayor, hopefully not under it, but in it. And thanks to Mr. McGusson for explaining that. I was going to ask some of those questions that you explained. I really thank you for doing it, and I thank you for not taking a breath in between. Good night.
I'll reiterate our thanks to our public defenders, the police department. Very nice to see some of them get a recognition. Also the fire department. We get a lot of reports. They are posted on the website. They are not read here. Sometimes if you get a chance, take a look at the website and read some of the attachments to these agendas. There's some very interesting information on there and gives you a real feel for what's going on in our city. Also want to wish everyone here a very happy Easter. I think that's it. Thank you very much for hanging in there with us tonight, and be safe.
To the clerk, you wish to make a comment? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just want to ask for anyone here's help to on the viewing of the council meetings on cable. what we've been telling people in the clerk's office for the last month is if you have Comcast, call Comcast. If you have WOW, call WOW. Now, they will probably try to blame us that it's the city, but we don't lay fiber optic lines. Okay, so it's not us. But the more they hear from you, the customers, the more they will. Because I will be 100% honest, because the guy from my office has been trying for months and months and months with dozens of emails and phone calls to get these cable companies off their rear ends. And he's pretty much told each time, well, that's really not our problem. So thank you to the administrator for kind of using some pull, but also citizens, if you know anyone with WOW, just call them up and say, hey, why aren't my council meetings? And let them ramble on and say, well, I want them, and then hang up. But don't harass them or you're in trouble. Sorry, I had to do that. But no, seriously though, calling them will speed up the process. Because in all reality, this doesn't make them money, so it goes on the back burner. But I do believe these meetings should be displayed in every possible venue so anyone and everyone can view them. But always keep in mind, they're all on YouTube through our website. So at any time, and I've said this before, you could be in Malta, you could be in Scotland, and you could watch our meetings. So you could be anywhere in the world on YouTube. But if you like watching them cable, call WOW now, because we actually have Comcast. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. God bless you and good night.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and just to make an announcement, I got a note here from our DDA director that there's a ribbon cutting for a new business in downtown Allen Park occurring next week, March 24th, Thursday at 6 p.m., and I'm certain you can see the gallery. It's the Blue Elephant Studio Gallery. I'm assuming they're not live animals, but they are art. But I too wish everyone, hope they have a blessed Easter, and I think our children are going to be home for next week for both schools, all schools. So watch out, we'll have a lot more children running around loose for a week here on our streets. And so with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion. Support, Mayor.
Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman DiGiulio. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. At 8:11 by the official chronometer.
8:12.